pick Steve Harvey as the representative for all things black. Steve Harvey, let's keep this shit funky. Steve Harvey is on his third marriage. His third wife was mistress to his second wife. Yet, black people have anointed this the oracle when it comes to black dating. This nigga wrote a book on dating. You on your third wife, homie. With all respect, why can't we pick a that know what he's talking about?
Think about how quickly he moved forward from me to Marjorie. That was disturbing. With all the emails and the text messages and the different things that were that I was finding out about, I thought the least that he could do, make me whole at the end of it. He left. He just left, walked out the door. Once he realized that I was going to divorce him, he walked out the door. He had a shoulder bag. He walked out. Went right to New York, to our apartment that we had there, which I never got to see, by the way, but... And then she joined him there. Marjorie joined him there. Never an apology. Steve.
The true person who ought to be giving dating advice is Mrs. Marjorie Harvey, since she found a lick and clung to him for dear life, protecting her children and grandkids. Check, listen, who cares if Steve Harvey writes 1,000 books on dating? And ensured their future lifetime of prosperity. Observing Lori Harvey's transition between men, people have been curious about what her mother had taught her. If you're looking for answers, you'd be better off asking Steve's ex-wife Mary Lee, who has been on Mars. Neck for years, spilling all the sloppy details of the tumultuous period when she and Marjorie were fighting over Steve. From the way she began until she eventually got Steve in her back pocket, giving her the finest presents money could buy, it's clear that at the end of the day, Marjorie and Steve were a perfect match. Steve used Mary Lee and his first wife, Marcia, as stand-ins until his career truly took off and the money started rolling in. Mary Lee was now doing the exact same thing from her corner. At the age of 18, she was known on the streets as Lady Heroine. I didn't make it up, you know. In any case, Marjorie was out there selling that cookie to drug dealers, and she wasn't interacting with the little Tim. Oh no, Marjorie knew she wanted Lux. When she started dating big-time drug dealer Jim Townsend, she only bothered with guys who could afford to provide her the life she desired: fancy clothes, fine dining, and costly trips. Marjorie was aware of his insane marriage. In fact, he had informed her of it. That he didn't want any more children because he had enough with his current family. But Jim didn't realize how much Margie would go to acquire that bag. She kept seeing him, and after he became a little too comfortable, she stopped taking birth control pills. Never mentioned anything to Jim, so you can only imagine how shocked he was when she appeared one day with a smile on her face and baked goods in the oven. When she was with Jim Marjorie, she became involved in the Memphis doctor scene, which is how people began referring to her as Lady Heroine. Her reputation was so poor that she couldn't even bear to continue her education at the University of Memphis. And when she became pregnant with their second child, Jim learned that the federal government was actually coming for him and that he wouldn't be able to. He made the decision to accept a plea bargain so that Marjorie and his brother could move on with their lives, since they had concrete proof that he was transferring weight, and worse, they had proof that they were both involved in the organization.
They did indict her because, I made a deal with them not to indict. You got to be mindful. At this particular time that I was got busted, if you want to call it get busted.
Okay.
They showed me, transactions between Marjorie and people that I knew they weren't lying. that people that, she had sold drugs to, and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she 8 months pregnant. We got a 5-year-old daughter, so there was no way whatever I could do to keep her from going to prison or being indicted. And see, I know how those feds.
Jim was also, after being under lock and key for more than 5 years, Jim was finally given a life sentence. Marjorie dried her eyes and began searching for the next exciting buzz on the street. She might have even dated NBA player Todd Day, who assisted her in buying a club that Jim owned as a present for Marjorie. However, she was unable to manage it and had to sell it again. We do know, however, that she was married to one of the notorious Wood brothers. Therefore, she and Darnell Wood's welcome daughter. Soon after they had their daughter, the federal government came looking for Darnell as well and discovered evidence of their family's drug use. He was charged and sent to the John for 37 months, and Marjorie wasn't going to wait for another convicted felon to return home, so she promptly got a divorce from him and was prepared to move on to the next man. Listen, everyone gets a pass, but having 2 ex-cons for husbands doesn't happen by accident. I'm just talking about that opulent life, but it was. When she got divorced from Darnell in the early 2000s, Steve Harvey was everywhere. He was still riding the massive wave playing the kings of comedy, and he was really bringing in some big money, unlike the first time they met when he was a struggling comedian doing local comedy clubs. However, Marjorie couldn't just walk into this circle like that because Steve was still married to Mary Lee. She started to look a little unstable and dangerous at that point, so she focused all of her attention on the comedian who always dressed like a pimp. She supposedly began dating Steve's bodyguard, Big Boone. Steve was never really her type in the first place, but when things got tough, Marjorie realized that he was better off, and she and Big Boone's relationship began to wane. Slowly but surely, she managed to catch Steve's attention, and while she was happily playing the mistress, Steve took good care of her. Even after Steve's second wife, Mary, learned about her, remained stationary after all. You can't take a man who doesn't want to be taken, so Mary finally realized she was losing the battle. After Steve made Marjorie his main female, Mary suffered as a result of his obsession with her. Steve severed all communication with Mary and began the divorce process. Marjorie even became so brazen as to call Steve's house knowing that Mary would answer, only to inform her that she was with Steve and that there was nothing Mary could do about it.
See her as the best image for what he was trying to do, you see. And so, but who knows his mindset, but because like I said, she ain't just that bright now, but she's shrewd.
But she ain't the brightest person in the room.
No, but she's shrewd. I got to give her that.
Okay.
And
And she was excellent at taking husbands.
When Margie and Steve eventually got married, that's when she really took control. She gradually convinced her kids, even the ones who weren't minors anymore, to adopt Steve's last name because it would undoubtedly lead to better opportunities for them. She even convinced Steve to give Mary custody of his youngest son, and Mary has yet to establish a strong relationship with her only child with Steve. Steve, on the other hand, was aware of the kind of past Margie had before she got together with him, and despite the fact that he was a well-known public person, he began assisting her in clearing her reputation, resolving her prior problems, and paying off many of her bills from her time on the Memphis scene. Trust continues to be a popular drag show today. The quote from Miss Marjorie suggests that she has been passed around far more than a collecting plate. She is one of the greatest scammers I have ever seen. She is not a gold digger. I'm happy that someone is speaking the truth about Marjorie because she presents herself as completely new and doesn't seem to have come from the streets. What do you guys think of Marjorie? Is she merely playing the game, or is she a real kingpin who clawed her way into a rich man's arms? Now that people understand why Lori is a roundaway girl like her mama, she knows that no matter what she wears, she can't hide who she really is. I'll see you in the next video. Let's start a discussion in the comments. Don't click away without liking and subscribing.